Okay, today is Sunday, September the 13th, 2015, and we're sort of picking up where we left off about a month and a half ago on this project due to some pressing matters. So now today we're getting ready to stack up the engine, place the front cover on the third generation engine block. Everything fits perfect. Cover's already been modified for the special counterweight. That's already been done. But when we went to place the air conditioning compressor, which mounts directly to the front cover, there's a minor interference against the third generation front plate. In comparing that front plate, which we'll do in a minute, to the RX8, the RX8 front plate is physically missing this chunk right here. So we're going to mill it off. Very simple operation, and then put the cover on and put the AC compressor, make sure that it all has room. But thinking about the guys that are going to be doing these projects with a kit where they have an engine that they do not wish to take apart, it's a rather simple operation. Let me get something to point with. Obviously this will have to be done with the engine outside of the car, and you know, very carefully. But this block of cast iron that is casted into the front side housing of the third gen engine doesn't really do anything, doesn't support anything. As you can see, there's no bolt holes. It's just a manufacturing piece that's left over. On the RX8 front plate, this piece is actually hollowed out with a minor little gusset from the main oil gallery to this top section here. So that could always be done by hand with a die grinder, grinding off, leaving an edge, leaving a shoulder here and here, which is already quite shallow. And then even once you make the cuts close enough but not actually into each other, leaving about 30/2 of an inch between the two cuts. The reason being is that you don't want to have one cut into another, one cut into another, and create a stress riser. So we make the two cuts quite close to each other, but not touching each other. And then simply take a hammer and smack it, and it'll break off, being that cast iron is so brittle. Then you can come in with a round die grinder and kind of shape it to make it look pretty, but nonetheless it can easily be done with the engine outside of the block. Right now we're just going to whack it out here in the mill because we have the equipment, and it's, you know, we're doing it ahead of time, so we're looking at every possible obstacle that will arise and dealing with it during the actual build project, rather than trying to piece it together and running into options. The whole purpose of this is that when you guys get ready to do it, you'll already know that we've already ran into all the issues, and you'll know ahead of time what to deal with before you do a lot of work and realize you got to put the engine back out. So we're just going to cut it off right now, mill it off. I already have the machine set, my digital X and Y coordinates as to where I have to stop, and I'm simply going to take this section out and then go back on the bench and put it all together and make sure that it all clears. Very simple operation, there's really nothing to it. Start getting close to our stop. We're only 10,000ths of an inch away. We want to go very slow so that we can cut deeper if necessary. I'm going to leave myself about 1,000th off, so that once we knock everything out, then it's just a matter of taking a cut straight across.
You mentioned another option you're considering here is to build a bracket.
Well, we're going to take a look at that right now. The air conditioning compressor bolts directly to the front housing, and that's what locates the height so that the serpentine belt can all be aligned. I noticed also that there's two bolts in the back of the air conditioning compressor that do not line up with the third gen front cover. So part of the kit is going to be a bracket that will bolt to this bolt and this bolt on the third gen front side iron that will be secured here and pick up the other two bolts for the AC compressor here. Kit is exactly that, a kit. We want it to be a bolt-on deal. We don't want the customer to having this running into issues that they're not knowing about until you're actually trying to piece it together. So we're going to take every step and make sure that everything, there's no interferences, and provide all the bracketry in the kit so you just bolt it together. Okay, we have essentially at this point knocked the wall down. I'm going to just vacuum this mess so we can take our horizontal cut and go take it to the bench and drop it. An RX8 front plate. You can see it because of the exhaust outlet. RX8 front cover. Air conditioning compressor. The compressor bolts directly to the front cover. Two bolts there, and then there is a bolt here and a bolt here, which are not found on the third gen front plate, front steel plate. So the reason why we're knocking this out of the way is so that the air conditioner will have this cavity here for the body and it'll fit. Then we're going to provide a bracket that picks up the top and bottom bolt of the third generation front plate, front iron, and basically it's going to be like a wide little plate with some ears. Secure it there and then be able to pick up the two back bolts of the RX8 AC compressor. At that point, that part will be done, which is really, besides the front cover and the custom counterweight, the main hurdle, because everything else is on the outside, and I don't foresee any other interruptions, interferences. So we're taking it step by step. We're going to build a motor now from parts. Here's the low compressor rotors for the engine we're going to build. And I've already tried the oil pan. The oil pan fits absolutely perfect except for one bolt in the front cover, which can be, and we'll identify it, it can basically be elongated on the 93 oil pan base. For that matter, we could even try, no, we can't try to use the RX8 oil pan because it doesn't have the provision for the mounting points of the third generation block. So we must use the third generation oil pan. Essentially, the complete third gen motor with a modified front cover, custom counterweight, and some minor modifications for the AC compressor. Now we've already cleaned it, eliminated the interference, so now we're just going to feed it until I can take a horizontal cut and go trial fit it on the bench. I believe I've taken all of what was in the way. I hope anyway. We're going to compare the two front side irons side by side. This is the difference. This cavity here has been relieved to make room for the air conditioning compressor, which sits here. Right there. So I'm going to stack up the front cover and see if we got the necessary amount of space that I'm looking for. Okay, so we have another air interference, and the interference is this stud, which we can remove because it's not going to be used in anything. The reason why I actually have it there is because this is how I mount the front side housing to the engine stand, so we can go ahead and stack up the engine. So I've got plenty of clearance, it seems like, but we'll find out right now. Stud that is basically used to bolt the engines onto engine stands right to the front cover, like that one right there. That bolt is not used in the car at all, so we remove it and trial fit the AC compressor. All right. Okay, as you can see, there really is not a whole lot that needs to be removed. I actually took out a lot more than necessary. It was just eyeballed. See the distance between the compressor and the space in the housing, so it really wasn't all that much. Again, this went ahead and eyeballed it. Now what I suspect I'm going to do is provide some bushings. Well, let's back up. That AC bolt to mount it and that AC bolt to mount it do not match up to the third generation front plate. So what I am going to do as part of the kit is provide some bushings to separate the AC compressor further out about 3/8 of an inch, and then provide a bracket that will pick up this bolt, or rather this bolt, which is not in the way, and because that's the one that was in the way, and this bolt here with countersunk bolts, and then have some extra little ears that are threaded. That's the reason we're having it 3/8 of an inch, so that the bolt that would go here and here to hold the AC compressor on the RX8 front plate, which would be that bolt and that bolt. Remember, the RX8 motor is longer, physically longer than the RX7 third gen block, for that matter every other RX7 block, because of the deep cavity in the front cover to make room for the exhaust port. So essentially it's that much longer. So that's it. We'll space the compressor out just a little bit, make a bracket that to pick up the two bolts that are on the plate, and have the bracket have some ears where a bolt here and a bolt here will block into that bolt into that bracket, which bolt directly into the front cover, and at that point the compressor is solid with the motor, just as on the RX8 engine. Only difference is that it's going to stick 3/8 of an inch further out. Now, obviously that's going to require a difference in length of the belt, so I'm going to go look in one of my other cars outside and see if this belt is the one that is controlled by the adjustment of the alternator.
I'm pretty sure it's only one belt going to this, because the other one has the alternator and the water pump.
Okay, well, oh, there's only one belt going here?
Yeah, I replaced it the other day.
Then there's got to be an idler.
I don't know.
Let's go to one of the cars outside and take a look. I work on so many of these cars, venting things, that I don't really know what's what.
Yeah, it's got an idler.
The good thing is that we do have plenty of them. Beautiful. We have an idler. That makes life even more simpler. It's because the difference in the length of the belt will be taken up by the adjustment of the idler puller. One less problem to have to worry about. It's all too good. Bottom, space the air conditioner compressor out. We may not even have to modify that front plate.
Once you space it out?
Yeah, now that I think about it, once I space it out, may not even interfere.
And if how far you go.
Yeah,
right?
because look, I mean, I really went deep. You know, literally stick my thumb in there. That was unnecessary. I just eyeballed it, you know. See where my thumb is at?
Yeah.
So if the compressor's spaced out a little bit, you know, if it may not touch, and if it does touch, it might just be able to do it with a file. But anyway, we're done. It's gonna work, and now we're on to assembling the engine. This was the only obstruction that I have seen so far.
Pretty obvious why you would take these out, but why did they put them in there in the first place?
I just broke the fucking for noise cancellation.
Yeah. quiet it down.
Yeah. Well, apparently the exhaust port is large enough that the 6-port engines were not making enough power to warrant such a large exhaust port. So the turbo killed the noise, but it wasn't enough to there was too much noise with